Yes, hello tradies. Welcome to the Air Raid Siren, brought to you by HBF Health Insurance. Make the trade, join HBF, your health dream team. Mitch and I get to come off the short, medium or long run about an issue close to our hearts, not trade related.
This is more off the medium run, but I can actually now appreciate, which we have for some time, but I think it's growing louder and I think something needs to be done formally about it at the end of 2025, is the concerns from Clubland around the soft cap. So since COVID, it's gone from $9.7 million in 2020 to now $7.3 million. So more than basically $2.5 million cut out of the soft cap for club spending.
Yep.
They've added 20% of the coach's contract can sit outside the cap, but that's really only, 250 grand max. So it's essentially a swing of $2 million has dropped from COVID. In 2021, the AFL executives earned more than $1 million on average. Now, you talk about the AFL executives. In 2023, in Gillon McLachlan's last year at the AFL, they earned a collective $13.6 million. So that's more than $1 million on average. This year it's dropped, so off the 2024 numbers it's dropped, but that's largely because it was Gill's last year, the previous year, and this was 2024 was Andrew Dillon's first year. But still, on average, the AFL executive earns more than $1 million each for the 10 members on it a year. Now, we go back to last week and Laura Kane's job, her portfolio is split in two. She'll remain on the executive, but she'll look after operations and logistics mainly for AFL, AFLW state leagues and continue to oversee health and concussion. They're bringing in Greg Swan, who will oversee all the meaty footy decision-making items. So they're adding to their footy department, but they drop out another member off the executive. So 10 remain on the executive from what it's always been. My biggest point here is that the AFL can continue to find money for essentially their footy department or their soft cap, but the clubs still aren't getting the pre-COVID numbers. Why is that? And why do the AFL keep being able to find and make mistakes on their hiring? So at the start of this year, they found Nick Carra, who had no AFL experience. They brought him into the operations role to work under Laura. Josh Marnie got moved from operations into football performance. He remains there and will work now under Greg Swan. His role's been diminished. If you look at the line of hierarchy, Nick Carra's role has been diminished. Laura Kane's role has been diminished. They're able to go and find Greg Swan. They're also now going to go and find a COO who will take on partly some footy decisions. Jeff Walsh's role has increased at the AFL since the start of this year, and still the clubs are sitting here thinking, why are we not able to spend as much money on our footy department when the AFL go and make all these hires and no one really jumps out of the footy department?
I think you've made your argument very soundly. I don't really have many ways to rebuff that. I mean, they've been frustrated for some time now, the clubs, that they haven't been given or afforded the opportunity to spend the money that they want.
Yeah.
And yet the AFL keep tinkering, adding, subtracting, multiplying their own football department, and they find the cash to do it.
Yeah, and now they've got two football people on the executive, and they're about to have a third in a way when they bring the COO in at our time of recording on Tuesday morning. They haven't appointed that person yet. It'll come, I think, in the next week.
Tom Harley, it sounds like.
Yeah. So,
I mean,
he'll take on decision making in footy.
I do think that the AFL need to be able to spend good money on good people.
Yep.
Because otherwise they end up at other sports. So I'm not necessarily a one that thinks that the executives are paid too much, but I do think, to your point, if you're going to find money to spend on your own, you need to be able to spread some of the love and help out the clubs that have been so desperate with their diminished football departments for years now. I agree with that.
Yep.
Like it. Good one. Off-field one. I've been sitting on this one for a little while. So with Tassie potentially coming in.
Oh, yes.
There's signing bonuses that players will be able to be given.
Yes.
Now, do you know how much that is?
I don't think they've settled on the figure. We'll learn more in the next week or two when the commission sit down for their Hall of Fame annual meeting.
But we're told...
It'll be in the 1 to 1.5 bracket, won't it?
Yes. I'm told it's essentially $1 million.
So a lump sum, go and use it how you please. On one player, it could be 10 players.
Well, this is the thing. I just assumed that it would be, $1 million per player, sort of, for maybe like your best five.
No, it's just the million to be spread.
What's that going to get you?
I don't know, but you got to have an even competition. Imagine they just had $5 million extra to spend.
But they should for the first couple of years.
But they're going to have list concessions. They're going to have all sorts of things.
But the AFL wants them to be competitive straight away.
Yeah.
You need to be like, if you want to go and get Nick Dacos or if you want to go and get Harley Reid, $1 million sign-on bonus will make it hard to say no.
But they've already got the same salary cap that every other club has got, and they're going to be paying so many kids in that. So Nick Dacos, you could pay him 2.5 out of your salary cap as it sits.
But Mitch, they want them to be competitive straight away.
Yeah.
So it can't just be all kids. It can't be Gold Coast and GWS. You can't go and get 8 washed-up blokes that are in the twilights of their career. They need to go and get 5 23 to 26-year-olds who are in the best 50 players in the comp.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, in order to tell them that them and their family have got to move south, closer to Antarctica, to go live in Hobart or Launceston, you have to pay them significant money. You can't just be given $1 million kitty over 45 blokes to spread the love. That's not going to do anything.
No, I hear your point on that, but they're also going to have a list of 40 they have to fill out, which at least 10 to 15 of them are going to be 18-year-old kids.
If you're going to do it, you got to do it properly. They need
How much money? Where's that money coming from? Tassie government, the AFL? Like, clubs already think Tassie's going to be a drain on.
I think as you just enunciated, the AFL have plenty of money.
Yeah, but the clubs are already kicking up, thinking how much money is going to be spent on Tassie.
Yeah, I think if you're going to do Tassie, you've got to do it right, and you've got to make sure that a couple of their big signings are gigantic.
Yeah. There's still room to move in this list concession stuff before the AFL finalise it. So this is your last pitch to the AFL to say, hey.
Give them more money. Don't just say it's $1 million. That'll do nothing. Make it, add a 0, make it 10.
You've got to be wary of the rest of the competition though.
They do, but they don't want them to be a drain. It's damned if you do, damned if you don't a little.
Yeah.
Because if you don't give them enough help, then they end up being a drain on the competition for the next 20 years.
Yeah.
But if you give them too much help, everyone's going to complain. You got to try to find that hitting zone.
But they are still going to get crowds regardless of their 10th or 3rd on the ladder, aren't they?
Are they?
I think that I've got the sense the Tassie community are going to get around this team.
I don't think the people in the north will drive.
There'll be enough. They'll fill that stadium.
What time do the Jack Jumpers play?
As in time of the year or time
of night?
Oh,
is that like a 7 o'clock game?
Yeah.
And so it's done by 8:45.
Yeah, well, 2-hour window normally for NBL.
Yeah. AFL a bit longer.
Yeah, which is getting longer.
You think the game goes too long, don't you?
This year it is. 2.5 minutes longer on average than ever before. When you're trying to convince new people to come to watch the footy.
Is that because Sunday night news has been starting a little late sometimes and that frustrates you?
That has been, but that's on average around the whole.
Found him. Got him.
Around the whole competition.
Got him.
How many games on the Saturday running?
9 News going very well, by the way.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, I must be looking at different numbers.
9 News going really well, actually.
Right.
Classified rating really well too.
Is it?
Yep.
Okay. No, I feel like the agenda setters are going quite well.
They are going well, but they're significantly behind classified. You're aware of that?
I did realise last night you got a handy lead in, which always helps the numbers.
Oh, here we go. There you go. So we're talking about lead in. So are we talking about ratings or which way you want to cut it?
Yeah, but you're talking about different.
Which way?
We're talking about different ball games here.
We're talking about the number of people who watch one show versus
Yeah.
the number of people who watch another. Now, if you want to start being a sore loser and talk about lead-ins, I'm happy to talk about lead-ins. But unfortunately, that's the way ratings work.
Right.
You can't start from 0.
Yeah.
So,
no, agenda setters going quite well on the double up.
yeah, you do have 2 bites.
Yep.
You can't beat us with 1 bite. So you have to have 2.
Everyone will spin their numbers how they want them.
It's so true. This is so true. Ratings are malleable. All right, that does us. It does me as well. I'm going back to bed. Thanks for joining us on the Air Raid Siren, brought to you by HPF Health Insurance.